very warm welcome to everyone on behalf of India Fintech Forum. My name is Nidhi Hamlai, and today we have with us Mr. Abhishek Kothari, who is the co-founder of FlexilLoans. So prior to becoming an entrepreneur, he was the vice president of Fractal Analytics in London, and he was also associated with various companies such as Barclays, Dell, etc. He's pursued his MBA from the Indian School of Business. So Abhishek, I just wanted to know, so you were in a corporate job in London. What made you leave that and come here and become an entrepreneur?
Thanks, Nidhi. Thanks for having this chat with me. Good question to start with. I've not been able to answer that question to myself, honestly, because the decision of there were multiple decisions at place when we started FlexiLoans. I mean, it was not just about being in a job, but also moving from London to India. And I keep telling everyone who asks me this that coming back to India is always an emotional decision. It's never a practical decision. You can't win that by logic. It's only about the fact that your friends, family bring you back to the country. And also, I was in the fintech space in London, working with companies like Visa and Barclays, etc. And I could see what when credit becomes available to consumers and small businesses, how it makes an impact to the overall economic growth. And the FlexiLoans has been started by four of us. So we all kind of studied together at ISB. And Deepak, Manish, and Ritesh are the other three founders. And Deepak was visiting London one day. And at that time, we were all in our jobs doing something. We got talking about the India opportunity. And there was so much happening. Jio was going to launch. And Aadhaar was just about started. And FinTech was growing. And there were a couple of other startups which are already working in the space. And we thought this looks like an exciting one. And kind of coupled with the fact that I wanted to come back to India, I moved back, and then we launched FlexiLoans. And it's been about 4 years now. I've never regretted that decision. And I think it's going to be a one hell of a journey for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I surely hope so. So to talk about FlexiLoans, now that's in the emerging top 50 fintech companies. So how does that make you feel? Just 4 years and it's already in the emerging list. And what's the plan ahead now for FlexiLoans?
Look, I mean, the first reaction to kind of being listed in any ranking is happiness. But I mean, if you think about it, there are about 6 crore SMEs in India. And all fintechs combined have given 5-6 lakh loans to SMEs. So nobody's really achieved a lot or kind of contributed back to the country. We're only scratching the surface at this point. And so when you appear in emerging global lists in top 50, it makes you feel grounded, and at the same time makes you feel a kind of share a bit of responsibility, because you're not just representing a minority set of companies who are emerging, but you're in a global list. And so you need to do something big so that you kind of continue to be not in that list, or you make your country proud. And typically decisions like becoming an entrepreneur, especially about 15 years of work experience, is always about the fact that how can we make a difference to the country and to the community, because you're already at that stage where money is not really a driver. And that's what it makes us feel. We feel responsible every day that we can kind of deliver back to the community and to the country.
Right. So now talking about the pandemic that's overtaken all of our lives, has that affected FlexiLoans in any way? And are there any like positives of COVID and negatives? I'm sure there are more negatives, but what are a few positives you'd like to point out?
Look, remember when you were in your, we were all kind of in our schools and colleges, and when we'd get into 10th standard, and how would 10th standard be at the end of the year? Nobody would know. But you'll all put in efforts, and there will be a grading, and there will be one little test, and then there will be one more test, and kind of it all adds up to some grades at the end of the year. And let's say you have fever in one of those first few months. Or you're not well, or you have to go for a holiday or whatever. In that short run, it feels like it's a big thing because you're missing out a lot. But fast forward 10 years from that, do you really remember what happened in that first month of that 10th standard, and whether you lost something or not? And I think lending is a full contact sport. It is not about because you give money today and the goods or the bads come up only after the loan is fully paid or not paid. So it's a 1 year bet or a 2 year bet that you're taking on a borrower, with of course a lot of mathematics behind it. And businesses like these, where there's a very long term foundational layer to be created, of course, COVID has impacted everyone. I mean, and more negatively than positively in most industries. Ours is one of the most impacted ones because we have supply in terms of money, and we have demand that is created in terms of consumers borrowing from us, and we are this conduit in the middle, who gets impacted from both sides. When my borrower is not able to run their business, my demand gets impacted or my risk gets accentuated. And if my supply of money is not coming in, because nobody's willing to take risks now, then it kind of makes an impact that I don't have money to lend. So we get hit from both ends. But naturally, 6 months, 12 months, this will also pass. And when this passes, how we reacted and how what we created in these 6 to 12 months is going to matter, and nothing else. Because we lending institutions are not created in a year or 5 years. There's a journey, and institutions like HDFC, which have done really well, they've been built over decades of patience and decades of discipline. And hence, I mean, while this is more of a philosophical aspect to it, but I think health wise it's a detrimental to everyone, and we all need to keep safe, etc. But from a commerce standpoint, this brings us a couple of years behind in our journey from a goalpost point of view. But the journey itself was, let's say, 10, 20 years. So it's not going to matter a lot in the long run. It's a learning. What doesn't kill us only makes us stronger.
Right. So now, since FlexilLoans focuses on MSMEs, has it become difficult for you to collect EMIs or anything from their end? And has any relief been provided to them or in that front?
I mean, of course, RBI took some very quick steps,
Yeah.
and that helped borrowers take moratoriums. And borrowers, we've extended that moratorium to all of our borrowers. And hence, the short term crunch that borrowers will see has been mitigated by moratoriums. So, having said that, let me explain this. So, when you say that, okay, a borrower does not have to pay their EMIs for the next 6 months, it's not a waiver, it's only a deferment. So they have to pay it later. Second is, it only puts a kind of a blanket on top of the problem, because what you're saying is you don't have to pay it. What will really matter is, once this moratorium period is over, how many of our borrowers can start paying back, and how. And that's really the core of it. Today, it is very premature to say that RBI has solved the problem, or we have been able to manage our customers, or customers have been able to manage COVID. All we've said is, hey, you don't have money, don't pay. Okay, but when the time comes, how many of them are going to be paying or not? And that, I mean, if you look back on the historical events, there was 2008 financial crisis, there was demonetization, and there have been many other little ones in the middle. But if you look at it, each one of them have led to some sort of increase in NPAs. That increase in NPAs can be anywhere between, let's say, 1.25 of the current NPAs to 2 times the current NPAs. And we are all kind of provisioning for it, keeping cash for it, keeping reserves for it, raising more capital for it. That war chest or the shock absorption capability is what we are building today. Reality, I think we'll all see in the next year. This year, everything is going to be just about a blanket on top of the problem, really.
Right. So now, what's the new normal like for FlexiLoans? So I'm sure everyone will be working from home, but how has it been the entire journey from COVID started?
Um, I mean, we're still figuring out the new normal, because for the first part of the lockdown, the new normal was about just adjusting to work from home.
Right.
I went to office a couple of times, and I realized that it's much more kind of it reasonable to be at home and work rather than be in office and being always kind of putting yourself at risk, as well as uh, feeling a little out of comfort zone. So new normal is yet to be defined, but I'll kind of break this problem into 2 or 3 parts. One part of normality is really about when does business come back to normal. Now, today, almost the entire lending industry is running at a fraction of what they used to be pre-COVID. So if you used to lend 100 rupees pre-COVID, you're lending anywhere between 10 to 30 rupees. Bulk of the demand will lie in that. So when you have such little revenue coming on the top, then naturally the focus becomes about how do you manage the costs. And typically the costs would be the fixed costs and the variable costs. So companies which have very high fixed costs, if you have branches, if you have a lot of field force, versus companies like us who are always digital. So we have one office, 200 people in Bombay, and we service pan India, no branches, no physical infrastructure. It was within 3 days we were able to switch everybody to a work from home. It was that easy. So the so the business will come back to normal, I think, in the next year only. But the mindset of building things that will impact for long term, I think that has changed for the good. It's almost like when somebody tells you you've gotten a little bit of breathing space to innovate. I think every company is innovating today. Every company, whether it is about process, whether it is about product, whether it is about customer experiences, whether it is about being ready post COVID, everyone that I speak to is focusing on innovation, and everybody is doing innovation in their capacities. And I think that's the new normal. Each one of us has realized that business is going to change, world is going to change. We can't predict everything, or maths is not enough to model what's going on. So we have to be very agile about it. But at the same time, this is the time when it's about investing into innovation, and we'll see the results going forward. So you'll see a lot of new ideas coming up, new experiments being done by companies. We are working on a killer product which we will launch in November, and there are 3 such ideas that we are working on. Each one of them have an ability to completely change the way SME lending is done in India, because it challenges the way we ourselves were doing it 6 months ago. And because we are one of the incumbents in terms of the fact that we came late, and we are in a way trying to challenge or solve what banks could not do. So we were anyway more innovative than others from a product and technology perspective. Now we are challenging ourselves to say post COVID, we are going to try something very different and new. And if it works out, it's great. If it doesn't work out, we would have tried something so amazing that we would have learned more, and we would be wiser individuals than what we were pre-COVID. So either way, the new normal is being more kind to each other, being more innovative, and just realizing that world is going to be different than what it is today.
Right. So now talking about the legal environment, the government has launched so many policies for MSMEs during their budget. So has that benefited FlexiLoans in any way?
No, there are, of course, every government policy comes with its own kind of restrictions. And given, I think a broad focus for those policies have been to support large NBFCs and banks in terms of providing credit to SMEs. And that is somewhat we would have asked for more, and we've always represented through the DLAI community, the Digital Lenders Association of India community, to kind of percolate some of those benefits to smaller NBFCs like us. But given the fact that there are some rate ceilings and some rating of the book, which really needs to be done in order for those policies to be applicable. So it hasn't really reached us. 50% of our portfolio is people who borrowed for a business loan for the first time from a financial institution. So we are the first ones who are servicing them for a business loan. And it's unfortunate that those 50% people who have never interacted with a bank for a loan, or do not want to go to a bank or large NBFC for a loan, came to us. And we can't provide further benefits to them because we don't qualify for a lot of these packages that have come from RBI. But we are trying under every bad kind of unfortunate thing, there's a fortunate thing. That makes us work harder to grow and to try something else for our borrowers. We started a service where we are now offering, or rather helping our consumer base, our SME base, to manage COVID and to grow their business in these challenging times. So we are helping offline people sell online, We are helping those who are not insured. We are helping them get health insurances. We are helping them manage their GST and tax in an efficient way, so that they can make the best use of the GST policies that are applicable. We are helping them find or improve their credit histories so that they can be eligible for a loan if they were not eligible for a loan today. So with our own customer base and our own partnership circles, we are able to provide these benefits to our customers. So it's not monetary, but it's in a way, it's at least assisting their growth.
Right. So I have a last question for you, which will be a rapid fire question. You'll have 5 seconds to answer it. What is the one most important skill you've picked up during the lockdown?
I have learned to be more trusting, because I think when you don't have a lot of face-to-face interactions, that's a skill that you need to develop, because we're humans, right? So eventually we end up picking up signals by meeting people and speaking to people rather than just assuming that everybody is hardworking. And so being more trusting and kind is what I've learned.
Okay, that's great. So I think that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for giving us your time and sharing such valuable insights. And I hope you have a great week ahead and all the best for every adventure or every new thing. I can't wait to see what comes across. So yeah, that'll be all.
Thank you, Nidhi. I mean, it's been a pleasure. And the only my last few words would be that I think these are and there are hundreds of fintech companies, bigger and smaller than us. So, and my advice to everyone who's out there trying to be a strong entrepreneur and making a difference to the SMEs or the consumers, especially in the lending space, sit tight. These are all these times will pass, and invest your time and money very judiciously in things that will deliver long-term value. And I keep telling everyone again that if you can cut costs on something, cut costs, because a penny in the account is better than a penny somewhere else. And with that, thank you so much again for inviting me, and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much.